Gene, I think it's time we can start now.
Fantastic. Thanks, Suva. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Today's topic is making the switch from Magento 1.x to Magento 2.0. And today's session will be recorded and we'll make the presentation available so you don't have to worry about taking notes as we go through this. And today's presentation is a concerted effort on behalf of the Plum Group, InSync, and CommerceBlend. My name is Gene Ferreter. I'm a solution specialist from the Plum Group, and I'm joined today by Maria Delgado from CommerceBlend, and we will be your presenters.
Hi everyone, nice to be with you today, and with you as well, Gene.
Good morning, Maria. Thank you for joining, and to give everyone a sense of what we'll be covering today. I'm sure most in the audience are very familiar with Magento, but for those who are not, we will be introducing Magento from the ground up. We'll go through some of the new product capabilities in Magento 2.0, address the key factors in assessing when to make the switch to 2.0. We'll look at some live merchant sites, some case studies for 2.0 users already. And we'll walk through a migration checklist and migration resources, and then look at some next steps. And if we have time at the end, we'll address some questions from the audience. So Magento, for those of you who are not already familiar, is an e-commerce platform that's built on open source PHP technology. And it provides online merchants with a very flexible shopping cart system and control over the look, content, and functionality of their online store. This is very different than a lot of the closed proprietary e-commerce systems that are out there that don't afford that kind of flexibility or ownership that you get with Magento. Magento offers very powerful marketing, SEO, and catalog management tools. And why do merchants love Magento? What is it about Magento that has made it the most popular e-commerce platform in the world? Well, it really starts with the open source flexibility that gives users the ability to customize functionality to accommodate even the most granular business requirements that customers have. Because of its extensibility, there's a huge marketplace of add-ons through Magento Connect with 1.x that allows you to extend the native capabilities of Magento and the ability to integrate with third-party systems to create omni-channel solutions. And then the scalability of Magento, when properly optimized, the enterprise level performance is available even in 1.x that has allowed users to have up to 1.5 million catalog views per hour and up to 120,000 orders per hour. And then finally, the ecosystem of Magento, because there are thousands of developers in the ecosystem, as a user, you're really not bound to a specific developer, whether it's someone in-house or an outside agency. You can always reach out to someone in the community to find the right fit for your business. And the capabilities of the platform continue to evolve at light speed with such a vast community of developers. They also can identify bugs in the system and detect security issues and solve them very, very quickly. So the robust ecosystem of Magento is part of what propels it forward and really separates it from the other e-commerce systems that are out there. As I mentioned, Magento is the #1 digital commerce platform for the 4th year in a row. 31% of mid to large companies now rely on Magento for their e-commerce, which is far more than any other vendor, including Demandware and Hybris. Of the top 1 million e-commerce websites, according to Alexa, over 25% are currently using Magento. And for the enterprise level clients, Magento has 45 customers with more than $100 million in annual online sales, 53% more than Demandware. And looking back at the history of Magento, Magento entered the world in 2007. Back in 2008, they introduced Magento 1.x. By 2009, Enterprise Edition had come onto the scene, and a year later they had over 1.5 million downloads, up to 4 million downloads by 2012. And in 2014, adopted PHP 5.4, and also in 2014 went responsive for the first time. Of course, at the end of last year, for those who've been following, Magento 2.0 was introduced. And so what is Magento 2.0 and what makes it so great? Starting at a very high level with scale. And by scale, Magento 2.0 has introduced a new tech stack and brand new modular architecture that delivers enterprise performance and unmatched flexibility even in 1.x. And this includes comprehensive scalability enhancements to the database, order management, checkout, catalog, and more, as well as full page cache supporting Varnish. What this all means is it leads to 53% faster home page load times, 51% faster category view load times, and with 2.0, in concert with PHP 7, it enables up to 4 million catalog views per hour and up to 250,000 orders per hour, which is twice what we had in 1.x. And then looking at the agility of 2.0, there's a new intuitive store admin, which gives admins the ability to quickly and very cost effectively add new functionality. And this allows you to get to market much faster than in the past with new differentiated customer experiences, and allows admins to efficiently manage and continually optimize your marketing approach, and allows you to add new functionality, extensions, and low-cost customizations whenever you need it. And then the third big area is innovation. The new tech stack in 2.0 and modular architecture, again, makes it much easier than before to create very differentiated customer experiences that are true to your brand, and also to upgrade to the newest features that come out from Magento. It allows you to innovate at your own pace with the confidence that Magento and the ecosystem are innovating for you at the same time. So at a high level, those are some of the features of 2.0. As we get into the specifics, 2.0 enables a much more engaging shopper experience than in the past, and we'll detail that in a moment. Likewise, a more intuitive merchant experience. The back end is much more user-friendly with 2.0. And enterprise scale and performance that I alluded to a moment ago. And the modern platform architecture, again, with the modern tech stack and modular code, also with enhanced APIs that enable integration with external systems like ERPs, PIMs, OMSs, and other systems. What previously took 3 to 4 calls with the APIs now only takes 1. And because of that, the performance for the average response time is only 360 milliseconds for API calls. So that's a greatly improved performance. This is some of the high level. As we get into some of the new product capabilities, because of the full page caching with Magento 2.0, it's over 50% faster page load times than at 1.x, and also has reduced table locking, which was an issue for many in the previous version. And the clean, more modern code base is much more extensible and efficient APIs, as I mentioned. And it also enables worry-free upgrades. There's a standalone installer with 2.0 that checks for prerequisites and conflicts before even starting the installation process. And new approaches that have been developed for customization make much more stable interfaces that reduce breakage when upgrading with minor releases. And even the front-end customization with what's called multi-level theme inheritance creates a new theme that makes it much easier to customize because it only focuses on changes and reduces code duplication. In short, 2.0, the new clean code base makes it a lot easier to upgrade and to integrate. And testing is also part of the development environment for 2.0, which we'll get into a little more later. There are many other additional features for 2.0, including for the user, this is part of what makes the user experience so much better, is that there's a streamlined checkout process. Recent studies have cited customer cart abandonment, and this is not just Magento, this is e-commerce in general. Up to 65% of people that go through the process, once they get into the cart, abandon. So anything that can streamline the process and make it more effective is going to lead to much higher conversions. And so with 2.0, that checkout process has been reduced from 2 steps down to 5, which is going to make for a much better user experience and much higher conversion rates. Also, with 2.0, there's much easier PCI compliance. And there's integrated payment gateways enabling secure shopping and easier compliance with PayPal, Authorize.net, Braintree, CyberSource, WorldPay. There also have been a number of improvements to payments. Third-party embedded APIs with direct post, an iframe that allows payment forms hosted by a third party to be embedded within the merchant's page, and third-party hosted payment page, which redirects the user to a page in an entirely different domain for payment entry. So the payment and the compliance has become a lot easier with 2.0. In addition, and this is a big one that I'm very excited about, is it's become much easier to add product videos. And when you think about the factors that drive online revenue, it's really 3 major areas. One is traffic. If you can increase traffic to your site, likely to increase revenue. Second is conversions. And the third is the average order volume. Average order value. So with videos added to the site, because that's become much easier, that's going to increase traffic because the presence of video itself will affect the most important SEO ranking factor, which is content. And so video is evidence of quality content in the site, and part of the media mix that will send signals to Google and the other search engines that your site has rich media relevant to search requests, and so it will boost your page rankings. And this is especially true if you also add keyword labels, video transcripts, video sitemap, and other factors that can boost your SEO using video. And in recent studies, video viewers of your products are 1.7 times more likely to buy. And video viewers have a 2.5 times higher average order value than those that do not. So adding video is essential to those 3 main factors that drive revenue. Also with 2.0, you have more advanced, more fluid, and more seamless built-in responsive design. With 2.0, there are actually 2 themes that are included now by default. One is a blank, unstyled theme, and this includes baseline Magento functionality, and it's very easy to build up a custom site because it's blank. The second is what they call Luma reference store, and it's a full-featured demonstration store that's built on top of the blank theme. And both of these are fully responsive to give users the seamless experience, whether they are on a desktop, laptop, tablet, or phone. All of the page elements reformat in the most fluid and seamless way to give users the best possible experience. And this is especially important on mobile, since mobile is now about 30% of all e-commerce transactions are on mobile. Another set of features that we're very excited about is on the back end for the admin. The redesigned admin panel empowers teams to much more efficiently manage their stores. It's the user admin UI is now touch-friendly, when it'll help to increase productivity. You are able to customize your views with much larger click-tap targets. You can add and remove columns in your product views easily. There have been thumbnails for your products which are added, which makes the user experience much smoother. The configurable table views also have easy keyword search and expanding filters, so you can create a filtered view that works well for you, and then you can save that as your default view. The columns are drag and drop reordering enabled, and the product thumbnails again make the experience a whole lot easier to manage. So between this and the ability to update the product's cross-sells, upsells, and related products with multiple values per SKU is part of what makes the new admin experience so much improved. Also, even more significant is that it enables 4 times faster product import-export. And there are new business tools that make product creation a whole lot faster and easier. It's a lot easier to configure products with the admin in 2.0. You can do configuration creation by attributes and even bulk editing by attributes, whether images, pricing, or inventory. So this new simplified product creation workflow makes for much faster data import and export capabilities. Now also with 2.0, Magento's intending to release quarterly updates that keep you on the leading edge of the software. These updates include staging and preview, improved search, enhanced content management system, more promotion types, more sophisticated personalization and segmentation, and better reporting. And specifically, in 2.0, or 2.1 rather, which I spoke to Magento yesterday. Initially this was slated for release at the end of June. It's been pushed a little bit to August, but what we have to look forward to with 2.1 is content staging and preview, and that will increase productivity by allowing you to create, preview, and schedule a wide range of content updates without having to involve your IT department. You can preview all the changes by date or store view and manage all the changes through a timeline dashboard. This allows you to automatically deploy the updates at scheduled times and makes staging and previewing much more efficient. Also, we're very excited about Elasticsearch integration, a big upgrade from Solar. The Elasticsearch can handle very large catalogs and easily scale search capacity as your queries grow. And with Elasticsearch, it's easy to set up and supports 33 languages out of the box. It will offer suggestions for customer misspellings in search, support for stop words and attribute weighting, and also has synonym management via the Magento admin, so you can increase relevancy and conversions in your search results. And then, of course, the improved payment integration integrates, as we mentioned earlier, with multiple payment gateways, including PayPal and Authorize.net, and allows you to get additional payment extensions through the new Magento marketplace, and securely pass credit card information directly from the browser to the payment gateway. So these are some of the enhancements we have to look forward to later this summer. So what are some of the key factors in assessing when to make the switch to 2.0? So a few major areas that we've isolated. One is the site's performance. The other is level of customization. And the third is the Magento version that you're using. These are all important factors in deciding whether it's right for you to make the switch. In terms of performance, if I would consider switching to 2.0 if your site currently is not running very smoothly. You're not getting the page load times that you want. There may be customer complaints, and for every second that page load times, for every additional second of page load times, you lose a significant amount of traffic, a lot of site abandonment. So this is very key to conversions. If orders are not coming in and the overall checkout process is troublesome with the 5 steps, and you're getting high cart abandonment rates, considerations for switching. If you intend to adopt an omni-channel sales strategy for your brand, another very good reason to switch to 2.0. Now, in terms of level of customization, and this is a tricky one that may require some consultation from your vendor or your partner, because if you have many customizations on your current site, if it's heavily bespoke and you're depending on a wide variety of third-party extensions, say 50 or more, a lot of which may have become obsolete, no longer supported legacy code that may be impeding performance, at that point it's time to look at a more elegant solution and perhaps streamlining the extensions that you're leaning on. That said, if your 1.x solution is a fairly recent investment, you're getting good performance, and your version is still supported by the Magento staff, that might be a reason to keep it for now. And especially if you have advanced customizations that were expensive and timely, something such as integrations with an ERP system, which gives you inventory synchronization, to have to redo that kind of customization, it might not make sense to make the switch right away. Another consideration is the version of Magento. If your store is implemented on unsupported versions, which are earlier than 1.8 for community or earlier than 1.13 for enterprise, it's a good time to consider the transition. If you're on 1.x, but your current Magento version was a recent investment, as I said, and you're getting all the results you want to, it's probably worth riding for a while before considering the migration to 2.0. That being said, you may already, those of you that are currently on Magento 1.x, may already be well aware of the support limitation, but there will be support for Enterprise Edition 1.13 and 1.4 through November of 2018. And there will be releases to address bug and security issues between now and then. And Year 3 support for 1.13 is for P1 issues only. So in just looking at the roadmap ahead for your business, if it's not right to make the transition now, it's probably good to start planning with this timeline in mind. To review some of the long-term benefits that you will get from 2.0 is a greatly improved user experience and performance of your site. It will increase traffic and conversions and ROI. The modular code base makes it a lot easier to add features and a lot easier to manage from the developer's perspective. And the new admin interface will make it easier to add, configure, and manage your products. You'll be able to get rid of legacy code by upgrading and anything that has been impeding performance. And by getting the facelift and the new platform, it really will help to revitalize your digital business. In short, 1 + 1 = 2.0. 1 being a much more engaging shopper experience, better UX across all devices and all platforms, and the second is the much more intuitive user experience that makes it easier to manage all your products on the back end for your admin. And a third hidden benefit is that it's much easier for the technology team to upgrade and manage on the back end. So without further ado, I would like to hand off to Maria at this point so she can walk us through a migration checklist and the migration resources that are available.
Okay, so hi Jean, and hi to everyone who has joined and who has attended today's webinar. Great information, the one you've provided so far, Jean. I'm pretty sure all of our attendees will truly appreciate it. And I'm so glad everyone could join us here today. I'm thrilled of all the features that are about to come with this new version. So now, as a matter of fact, I think it's important to clarify to all attendees that this webinar isn't meant to only provide e-commerce merchants with a better knowledge of what Magento's 2.0 capabilities and enhancements are in comparison to previous versions, but also to provide all attendees with some key resources and steps in order to get ready for growing your online channel, getting the support you need within your organization to plan and execute an implementation plan using Magento, and thus turning your engines on towards digital commerce readiness. So, Jean, if you might switch to the other slide, please. So beforehand, I want you all to know that by the end of this webinar, we will provide a link from which you can download a complete migration toolkit that delves deeper into the information that I'll be giving you throughout this section, so you don't need to worry about taking notes on it either. So now, first of all, what you need to know before starting a migration process is which components are involved on it, right? That being said, for the particular case of the switch from Magento 1.x to 2.0, we have 4 big components. The first one is data, and it basically has to do with the migration of product, customer, and order data, as well as any store configurations or promotions that you currently have configured within your website. In order to facilitate this process, Magento has created the code migration tool, which in the end is more targeted to web developers rather than business owners, but as well is a tool that you might want to consider, as long as by now most web developers need to train themselves on the tool, and particularly in terms of technical preconditions that each site must fulfill in order to start with the data transfer, how to install the data migration tool within your server, and eventually how to configure the migration process. By now, this code migration tool is publicly available on Magento's developer documentation site. Now, the second big component of the migration is extensions. So far, what Magento has stated is that most of the current extensions that are available for 1.x versions will be outdated and cannot be transferred to the 2.0 version. Why? Well, without delving too deep on technical issues, the answer lies in the fact that Magento 2.0 is built upon a different technology than Magento 1.x, and I believe Jean touched a little bit on that. As a consequence, what will be provided in the meantime is access to Magento's new marketplace for extensions called Magento Connect. Finally, the third and fourth big components of the migrations process are themes and customizations. On this matter, what we can say, and which isn't such good news, is that developers will need to make changes to their themes, layouts, and customizations. Again, due to the fact that Magento 2.0 is built upon a different and more innovative technology than 1.x. So even though there's no such thing such as a code migration tool that allows you to automate the process for themes and customizations, Magento has provided through its website for developers some information that they can train themselves on with tutorials or more specific documentation. In the end, the best option for businesses is to reach out to a solution partner who already has gained some experience implementing on this platform, and that consequently is better enabled for providing a more tailored and realistic consultation for your particular business. For instance, Plum Group is a web development agency that is currently working on implementing sites for brands like a Smart Guide, who's focused on offering product advisors, selectors, and wizards. Unfortunately, right now the site isn't finished, so we can share with you the link, but maybe for those of you who are interested, you might leave your email address and name on the chat window so Jean can reach out to you later. Now, going forward on our presentation, the steps to follow before migrating. So, recalling a little bit on what I just said before, it is very important that once you decide to make the switch from one version to another, you count with the guidance and expertise of a solution partner who is capable of taking your current site, analyze it, and based on the results, identify how your site's performance, functionality, UX, sales conversion, and ROI might be enhanced for your brand and particularly for your online channel. That being said, and according to some e-commerce best practices, every one of you should follow this checklist prior to executing any code migration or CMS upgrade. First of all, do a site audit. The idea of this first step is to map out the existing inventory of extensions running on your site, as well as to map out any integrations with web services, file exchanges, API, ERP, or any customized requirements that have been configured in order to follow your business logic. Now, afterwards, do some data analysis. At this point, the idea is to list out the data that needs to be migrated from Magento 1.x to 2.0, such as product catalog, customers database, orders, promotions, and customized code. Finally, the third step is to do a gap analysis. Once you've mapped out your existing extensions inventory and have listed out the data that needs to be migrated, you should develop a feasible analysis of what Magento 2.0 has to offer, including available extensions in the marketplace, community, and enterprise editions. So moving forward, while you look at the left corner of this slide, you'll see a link to GitHub site in order to acquire Magento's code migration tool, the most relevant resource for speeding up a bit the migration process, on which we discussed just a moment ago. As well, moving on forward, on the other side, above this slide, you can see a link to Magento's site for developers in order to access the same resource. Now, having provided all this information, we will move forward to talk about some live merchant sites and case studies on Magento 2.0. So now, with the idea of giving to all of you some references related to sites that have successfully achieved their business goals through Magento 2.0, CommerceBlend has decided to showcase the following cases. So the first one of them is Van Roy, a high-end boutique label that specializes on male beach resort wear, and which, at the end of the day, accomplished higher flexibility to control all aspects of the shopping experience, a high-performing architecture that provided a foundation for future growth, and a touch-friendly admin that made store management easier than ever before. Now, if we move forward into some numbers, these accomplishments are seen as follows. A 38% increase in the site-wide conversion rate, a 60% increase in the mobile conversion rate, and a 40% decrease on average page load times. So as you can see, these KPIs and these uplifts are pretty impressive to me. Moving forward, particularly Van Roy's founder, Sean Venturi, provided the following testimonial for all of you to know. With a production schedule of only 8 weeks, we were able to use much of Magento's capabilities out of the box to deliver a unique mobile-optimized brand experience. So here, for those of you who are probably a little bit skeptical of the switch, here you have the first review or testimonial from some other business owner like you are. Now, our second case study is by Rito, a luxury UK perfumer that wanted to standardize their e-commerce operations while setting themselves apart from competitors. Among their main accomplishments in terms of business goals, we have, first of all, a more flexible platform to create a differentiated global brand experience, as well as higher flexibility to deliver unique shopping experiences for each of their numerous brands. So going back to metrics and numbers, Magento 2.0 helped Byredo on increasing transaction volume by 30%, increasing average order value by 160%, increasing mobile sessions by 50% and mobile conversions by 30%. As well, Byredo increased the number of pages per session by 50% and average session duration by 20%. So you can see that they not only increased conversions, but also increased engagement within the site. After uplifting these important metrics and KPIs in this way, Rob Bostock, Director of Technology at Byredo's parent company, which is the Manzanita Group, by the way, said, Magento 2.0 allows us to spend time on creative rather than code. We can leverage the backend platform across our portfolio while still delivering unique customer experiences for each brand. Finally, our third case study is Soul Lingerie, a company focused on providing customers with a customized feed and which wanted to deliver their unique and personal in-store experience online. Through Magento 2.0, this brand achieved personalization and social media integration, as well as performance and scale to support projected growth. So if we move forward, in terms of KPIs and numbers, Soul Lingerie achieved a 104% increase on online revenue during the first 6 weeks, as well as a 60% increase in their mobile conversion rate. So as you can see, Magento's 2.0 product capabilities have had a very positive impact over variables that not only affect your revenue goals and growth through KPIs such as average order value or conversion rates, but that also allow the merchant to offer a more engaging, memorable, and customized shopping experience. As well, the platform's new features allow merchants to go on board with trends that are here to stay, such as mobile commerce, which only within the US stands for 30% of all e-commerce sales, and omnichannel commerce, which will be pretty much the path to follow for those brands you have who have a strong positioning within the offline scope, but that already reached their maturity stage in there, and thus, in order to keep sales growing, will need to explore new distribution channels and new target markets, to whom digital channels might be more appealing. As an example of what I just said, here we have Jeannie Peterson's testimonial, which says, "We quickly realized that growing the business meant growing the online business. Magento opens up the possibility of using technology to provide customers with the same fun soul experience online as they get in store. That's the growth we want." So I hope these cases have been pretty interesting to you. We can get back now moving forward into our migration toolkit. We can say that this is a tool that collects and even delves deeper into most of the information that I've provided so far, such as the case studies I just mentioned. Particularly speaking, it delves into more case studies for you to reference and the step-by-step checklist previous to installing the new version. Also, this toolkit gives you arguments and statistics on why the switch to Magento 2.0 should lead to higher ROI, an ROI calculator, and estimated times for implementation under different scenarios, starting from the easiest one to the most complex. Now, Jean, going back to you, would you like to tell our attendees about the next steps to follow?
Yes, thank you, Maria. That was very insightful, and I love seeing those case studies and the early success stories with 2.0. And of course, this is the first and three-part series. For those here today, please be sure to join us for the next webinar in the series, which will focus on the best practices for Magento maintenance and support, and will be organized by InSync, Phase 3 Commerce, and the Plum Group. And in that session, we will review the 10 best practices, including checking the obsolescence of third-party extensions. We will assess the continuous delivery model and how it may be a game changer for your operations. And we'll also discuss how to select the right partner moving forward.
Yeah, so just for you to keep it to account, pretty soon, those of you who signed up for this webinar and who attended will receive an email with this upcoming webinar information. So just pay a careful attention of it during the next few days.
Thank you, Maria. And I think we still have time for a few questions. Suva, perhaps
Yes.
you can lead us.
Yeah, I have received few questions in private chats, which I have copied here, and I think more attendees will ask their questions. So first question is how Magento ecosystem can help a merchant.
And thank you, Suva. That's an excellent question. And before addressing that, for any questions that we don't get to today, we'll follow up with via email later on. So don't hesitate to put questions even if we're running low on time. Great question about what are the benefits of the ecosystem, which we touched on a bit earlier. But one of the great benefits is that you're really not bound to a developer because of the ecosystem, whether it's an in-house developer or an agency that you're working with. Sometimes you go through a whole project, and after 1 or 2 years of development and enhancements, you want to move in a new direction, and you have that flexibility because there are many Magento developers out there. The ecosystem, as we also mentioned, really continues to stretch the capabilities of the platform by continually developing new extensions where needs arise. And also the ecosystem helps to track bugs and security issues very, very quickly and keeps the system secure, robust, and evolving. So those are 3 big benefits of the ecosystem that come to mind.
Okay, thanks. And second question is, are Magento 1.x themes can be used in 2.0?
Unfortunately, and I think Maria may have touched on this earlier, unfortunately, since it really is a completely new architecture, it's not possible to use Magento 1.x extensions and design themes with Magento 2 without doing code refactoring. Fortunately, of course, there's the blank theme that comes by default, and the Luma theme, which you can customize for your own branding that make it a lot easier. And there are new themes being introduced for 2.0 every day, but you cannot reuse the 1.x theme when you go to 2.0.
Okay. And next question is, any average timeline idea for the migration from 1.0 to 2.0?
I would say that perhaps the best way to address the timeline issue, because as we know, it can be widely variable, anyone that's gone through an implementation process. So it might be helpful to break that into 3 different scenarios. In the first scenario, your Magento 1.0 build is healthy and well structured. And so to define that more, there have been no modifications to the core. The database schema is intact with consistent data, and the theme and plugins that were used in your 1.x exist in Magento 2.0. So in that scenario, it can be relatively quickly, even within 1 or 2 weeks with the right partner. So that's the best case scenario. In scenario number 2, where you have a healthy 1.x build, but the front end cannot be adapted to 2.0, as we just discussed with the theme. In this case, let's say the core was not modified, the database schema is intact with consistent data, but the theme and plugins do not exist in 2.0. Equivalent plugins may exist in the Magento store, but not the exact same. So in that, it's going to take a little longer, probably twice as long. 3 to 4 weeks would be perhaps a realistic scenario. And in the third situation, where 1.x was really not a healthy build and the front end cannot be adapted to Magento, let's say the core was modified, the database schema is not intact and contains conflicting data, and the theme and plugins used no longer exist in Magento 2.0. So in that scenario, the timeline would be 2 to 3 months and possibly longer, because there's really a full rebuild happening on every level. So that gives you at least a sense of the scale depending on your current scenario before the migration.
Okay. Another question which I'd like to mention, that someone mentioned that Magento 1.2 is very slow for my product catalog, which has 500,000 products. Can 2.0 help me?
And that's an outstanding question. A couple of things in 2.0 that will make it a whole lot easier is because the product export is 4 times faster, and the products are much more easily configurable and managed with the tool set for the admin. It does make it a whole lot easier to manage sites with really high SKU counts, and especially those that have a continual influx of new products and removal of old products. Obviously, with that level of SKU count, 500,000, there's going to be that attrition of old and influx of new happening almost continually. So yes, the tools and the faster import-export with 2.0 will make it easier to manage those that have really high SKU counts.
Okay. Next question that we received: how reliable is the Magento data migration tool for Magento 1 to Magento 2, considering there are customizations in Magento 1?
Well, as I said, the migration tool will only basically help you out to transfer some of all the coding you have within your site, right? So it should help you out to transfer data such as some product catalog, some of your customer database, which is obviously pretty important for any site not to lose that type of information. But regarding very tailored customizations and extensions and developments, or that sort of functionality development that you have made, it might probably not switch, because it's a total new technology, the one that was used on 1.x from 2.0. So that's another reason why most web developers need to train themselves again on the platform. So it's not gonna, it should switch some of your data, the most important ones such as product catalog and customer database, but not much from there. Probably incoming orders as well, so you don't lose that, but not much as well.
Okay. Next question is: what is the percentage to convert data migration from 1.x to 2.x using migration tool? That means how much percent of data can be migrated? Is it 100% data can be migrated or more? I guess that is the question.
Well, I believe it's pretty attached to what I was just saying before. Number that I don't have right now a precise number I can give you. Going back to what I was just saying, I believe if you need a percentage, what you need to do is, okay, so how much of the whole coding within your site does product catalog, customer database, and incoming orders represent, right? Which probably will be something, I don't know, I'm just guessing, probably around 20 or 30%. But as I was saying, most of the coding is attached to functionality, the functionality that you wanted for your site, and that type of information won't be switched.
Yep. Next question is: what server configuration you would recommend for Magento 2 with 2000 products and approximately 100 orders daily?
Server configuration. Well, this one's kind of a tech question for Jean and I. If you let developer Ross, the one who asked this, right? So maybe you can give us your name and email. We can address this question to our technical staff and give you a response later on by today.
Yep. Yeah, Jean, please.
Just to add a little bit to that, I mean, it's conceivable that that's a candidate for enterprise cloud, but we'd probably need some more some more details on that. So yeah, we can follow up with you individually because it can get somewhat complex, the server architecture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I will comment in this section. 100 orders is an average number, but 2000 products is not that much number of products. But we are not sure at this point how much data like videos or product manuals, what will be stored against each product. But if these 2000 products are, doesn't have any kind of large attachment files or attachments or videos, then this should not take a huge kind of high configuration in the server space. It should be a moderate configuration. What I know from my knowledge, limited knowledge with Magento.
Yeah.
So next question is, how can we migrate complex data like custom options?
Well, again, it's not like you can. It's not like there's a way to migrate the complex data, such as customizations. I would suggest that probably the best solution in that case is to reach out to your solution partner, right? And that this partner, well, for example, in our case, Jean represents Plumtree, and Plumtree is a web development agency who might help on this. This kind of expertise, they should do first the site audit, and according to the site audit and the data analysis, then you might try to find a solution of, okay, how can we replicate the previous functionalities you had on 1.x on 2.0, taking into account that it's not like an automated migration or something. It's probably a thing that will need to be recoded. So in this case, I believe it's better to reach out to a solution partner.
Yeah. And next question is, can we transfer data using APIs? I think web services APIs they have mentioned here.
The short answer is yes. And improved APIs, much more efficient APIs with 2.0.
Okay. And the next question is, have you used split database feature of Magento 2 Enterprise Edition?
Well, I believe that's also a question more targeted to our technical staff, because Jean and I are not web developers as such, but we do have contact with this kind of people, Jean through Plumtree, so we can give you a follow-up response later on with this type of question.
Yeah, and I'm sharing the email ID of Jean here, so that the attendees who have tech questions can send that to Jean, and he can get back to you later on those questions.
And Suva, one thing I might like to touch on, I know we're running low on time at this point, but one thing that I'm sure everyone whose appetite has been whetted for 2.0 but is wondering about the investment level and whether or not the ROI is going to be right for their business. Obviously, with the toolkit, we have an advanced ROI calculator that can help crunching the numbers on that. But I just wanted to say on a high level, when it comes to the pricing, it is estimated that upgrading to Magento 2.0 from 1.x will be about 50% less than the cost would be to migrate to a competitive platform other than Magento. Mm-hmm. For those, so that's a very, very important detail. The other is that the new pricing model is site license based rather than server license based, which depending on your configuration is very, very good news for a lot of users. The cost itself is something that you can only get directly from Magento, from a Magento sales representative working in concert with your solution partner for the services that you need. But what we can divulge is that the cost is based on different revenue tiers. So if you're a $3 million a year company versus a $50 million a year company, the licensing fee is going to be different, but it will be site-based and not server-based. And also the license includes up to 5 domains, and it really removes a license cost considerations for hosting. So there's a lot of good news when it comes to the new pricing model and structuring, but to get an exact price, you really have to first work through a solution partner to understand all of the requirements, and then go through Magento in concert, a sales rep from there, so they can give you the right scale based on your revenue tier and some other factors. So I just wanted to introduce that in closing, and also thank everyone for joining today. If you're like me on the west coast of the U.S., it's bright and early, so we really appreciate you making the time for this. Please don't hesitate to reach out to myself, to Suva, to Maria, with any follow-up questions, and get some good use out of the migration toolkit that we put together. I think it may be a very valuable resource in helping you to make a decision about whether to upgrade to 2.0 and what methodology to undergo in order to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, and as well, not just to convince yourself, but to persuade others on your organization of how beneficial this switch might be. So yeah, it's highly recommended for you to download the migration toolkit. Which, oh, by the way, I believe I was forgetting that, and it is really, really important. In the slides, you'll get the link as well. But right now, for those of you who are still in here, you might use this link in order to download it right now, and as soon as possible start getting on those arguments for taking the decision.
Yep. Thank you, Jean and Maria, for your detailed research and insight on this topic. So with this, we'll close this session. We'd like to thank you all for your participation, and we'll see you next webinar very soon.
Thank you, Suva.
Thanks.
Thank you, Siva. Bye. Bye to all.
Have a nice day.